old Nintendo gamer.
And son.
Nick, what have you been playing the last 2 weeks?
Well, over the last 2 weeks, I've managed to finish 3 games, and I finished all of them earlier this week. And the first one has probably taken a couple of years off my life, at least, from how frustrating it was. And I feel so sorry for anybody who grew up on PlayStation and didn't have an N64, because Crash Bandicoot is, and it is one of the worst platformers that I've ever played. No, to be honest, I enjoyed my time with it, but there is this really irritating tendency in the game to it's really difficult to judge a jump. And when you're a platformer, that's bad. So some of the levels took me so many goes because I just kept over jumping or under jumping, or it's so unclear, especially in the levels where you're moving away from the camera or towards the camera.
It's
just an absolute nightmare. But I powered through and I finished it. I think it took me about 7 or 8 hours. And outside of that, I do think it's a very enjoyable game. I do think it's a decent platformer. It's very, very challenging. Not just because of the sort of poor platforming, but in general, some of the bosses are pretty tough. It's all about learning patterns and attacking at the right time and dodging in the right place and stuff like that. So I did have a lot of fun with the boss levels. I did have a lot of fun with the sort of more interesting levels where you're sort of riding a warthog and stuff. And a couple of levels play around a lot with light, kind of similar to the Donkey Kong Country games, where you need to keep the light switched on to see the path in front of you. So I think there's a nice variety of levels as well. You've got your sort of the islands, you've got sort of ancient ruins, you've got factories. It feels very similar to a sort of early 3D Donkey Kong Country game, to be honest, in the way it's designed and sort of the setting of the game. Donkey Kong Country is obviously 100 times better, but I was a little bit surprised. I mean, I played through Spyro back on the PS1 and I really enjoyed that. I thought that was a really good 3D platformer. And Crash is definitely something different, but it's still pretty decent. And I like the challenge of going for the boxes. That's extremely difficult. So when you pull it off, get all the boxes without dying to get the gem. I think I got 7 on my first run, which isn't bad, I guess. Yeah, it's a very old school, very difficult platformer, and I think if it wasn't for the absolutely rage-inducing platforming sections on some levels, I would have enjoyed it a lot more. The bridge levels, where you have to jump over gaps in the bridges, are just absolutely horrific. And Greg actually told me that you can just run along the rope on the side and cheese it, so I did that because I couldn't be bothered like attempting 100 times. But the music's nice, the soundtrack's nice. I think the remake actually looks pretty decent on Switch. I've been playing it mostly handheld. I've also played some on the TV, but it looks nice in HD. I had a look at some screenshots of the PS1 version, and it's such a vast difference. Like, as I'm playing Crash Bandicoot, or as I started playing Crash Bandicoot, it was like how I remembered it, because my brother had it. He had a PlayStation, and having gone back and seen what the original looks like, it is a massive difference. So I think overall they've done a good job, Activision, and I've just started Crash Bandicoot 2. So I'm going to go much more slowly with that one. I was really trying to like push through Crash 1 to get it finished, to talk about it. But yeah, 8 hours. I may go back and try and 100% it, but there's a lot of fiddling around and there's a lot of stuff like you can't 100% some levels until you've 100%ed other ones and flick switches and sort of unlocked different things. So that aspect is also kind of interesting, but requires a lot of time. So I think I'm done with it for now. Maybe I'll go back later. But overall, maybe sort of 7 out of 10. If the platforming was better, it would be an 8 or more. But it was too annoying, that platforming mistakes that I kept making.
Thanks for watching, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button and give us a like if you've enjoyed our content. You can also check out our other great content on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the N-E Café podcast from all good podcast providers. Just follow the links in the description below.